This week you are peer reviewing your introductions up to the first 2 pages of your Project 4, and then everything else you're doing this week is geared toward getting you to revise even as you're still probably drafting your Project 4. And that's okay if you're still drafting. So you're going to start thinking about how you can rework that frame, but at the same time, build your argument. So this week, you don't have a whole lot of discussion forums. You've only got the journal to work on and peer review, because my assumption is that you still have a lot of writing to do and you really want to spend most of your time on that. So if you look at that one journal that you have to do, you may want to complete it toward the end of the week because it's just a research reflection. So there's no new reading that you have to analyze this week. I want you to think about the process that you've gone through as you have constructed your argument in your paper. So this isn't quite like the metacognitive writing journals that we've done before, but it is still an exercise in metacognition. If you think back to the beginning, I suggested that you should choose a topic that you hadn't fully made up your mind about, and that you should then go about asking research questions, trying to answer them, and then once you've found some research that helped you build an answer, then give that answer to the reader with that research to support it. What I want you to do in this research reflection is to think about how that process went for you. What stumbling blocks did you run into? What went really well? Did your ideas change? Did you change your argument or what you thought your argument might be as you did the research process? Tell me how that went. Think about it for yourself. Monitor yourself and how you've changed. So don't worry too much about the writing portion. Focus mostly on the research. That's your journal. And then that journal, along with the metacognitive writing journals that we've been doing all throughout the semester, and even the metacognitive reading journal from the very beginning of the semester, will help you write your ultimate reflective introduction, which you'll put with your portfolio at the end. The other thing that you'll do this week is peer reviewing those introductions and frames, and most of the documents you have this week are geared toward helping you craft those and then also critique them. I've given you a model introduction from one of my papers with some comments that talk about how that worked. Now, your introduction doesn't need to look exactly like mine. Remember, we've talked about there are various ways that you can go about structuring an introduction or framing your paper, and it's going to be unique to your argument. It's also probably a longer piece than you might want to be producing yourself because the paper itself was longer. So take a look at that and be sure you read the comments as well as looking at the format of the text. So as you're critiquing one another, remember what I just said, that the form you choose for your introduction and for framing your issue is going to be dependent on your argument, and not just what you're arguing about, but how you plan to approach it. So while you look at one another's introductions and frames, think about whether the framing is actually serving the argument. If there's something that might work better or maybe make a potentially hostile audience more likely to get on board. So look for what works well, look for what can be improved. Remember to be kind, but also to be critical, because that introduction frame really is going to be what sets the tone for the entire document for the reader. This is where you win people over, or also where you might immediately lose them. So if you have any questions as you work through peer review, we're going to treat this just like every other peer review. Please let me know. Next week, your full Project 4 will be due. And again, remember, it doesn't have to be perfect. It just needs to be complete. This introduction will get at least 2 peer reviews, right? And then you'll send everything to me for my feedback. So I'm looking forward to seeing what you come up with. And again, let me know if you have any questions.